p.m.
Welcome back. The United States has stepped up its attack on the Chinese chip sector. It has banned exports of high-end chips manufactured with the use of American technology or personnel to China. The Biden administration maintains that the move is in sync with their national security interests, claims that China is using high-end chips for boosting its military systems. China has denounced the ban as arbitrary and warned of supply chain disruptions. Indian chip manufacturers fear that the move could cause some disruption in the short term, but would benefit the sector in the long run. We're now joined by Vivek Tyagi, Chairman of Indian Electronics and Semiconductors Association. Mr. Tyagi, thank you for joining us. Give us a sense of how the Indian electronics industry could be impacted by these US export controls.
Parikshit, thanks for having me here. Yes, in short term, it could have some headwinds for India as well, because a lot of global companies that are supplying high performance computing equipments to India market, and if they're manufacturing those products in India, it could definitely hamper their manufacturing in the short term till they figure out an alternate location for manufacturing those high performance computing equipments. So in short term, definitely it could have some impact on India getting those high-end servers, whether it's for data center, whether it's for high performance computing applications.
Right. I would also like to ask you, what are the components that we get from China for which segments of the electronics industry that are now likely to be impacted?
So, Parikshit, if you look at as a big picture, we import a lot of electronics from China and around the world. In fact, surprising fact to me was that when I looked at RBI's import data for last year, after oil import, it is maximum number of dollar that we spent was in importing electronic systems, and gold was at number 3 for last year. So whether it's consumer electronics, smartphones, whether it's servers, artificial intelligence based machines, a lot of it comes from China. But due to thanks to government of India's PLI production linked incentive schemes, a lot of things like smartphones and home appliances and IT products shortly are starting to get manufactured here. But we are still not manufacturing these high performance computing servers that are used in data center, and some of them could be coming from China. And those kind of things which are high performance computing equipment, those are the ones which are restricted now. In terms of semiconductor, all the chips, cutting edge chips, which are made in 16 nanometer and below technology, and especially for AI application, for example, either processors or graphics processor, GPU and CPU, as they are known as, those are restricted as per this, and that will have some impact. It will have majority of impact on China, but it will certainly have some impact on India and other nations who are importing these equipments for these countries.
Right. So do these latest export controls by the US Department of Commerce directly impact a country which is importing semiconductors, or maybe an electronic unit which has semiconductors from China? Do you think anybody who is doing so will have to stop and will have to look for alternatives?
No, Pariksha, this ban is only on, by US companies exporting these products to China per se. So these are components. So if some global companies assembling their equipments inside China and thereby they have to import it into China to assemble their products, it only impacts that. Now, if that company tomorrow decides to move their manufacturing of these high performance computing equipments outside China, whether it's to India or any other nation, then this ban does not impact. So coming to a long-term view, in long term, it's positive for our country, for India, because now many global companies who are doing manufacturing traditionally in China may be looking at alternate locations, and India could pitch as one of the alternate locations for them.
Right. Now, just to understand, because these restrictions are very, very sweeping, Mr. Tyagi, they say that any country or company for that matter, if it is exporting goods which have semiconductors either made in the US or made using US manufacturing equipment or by US personnel or US citizens, that would put the country in, or the company in, an entity list. Those kind of goods cannot be exported to China. So how does this affect the global ecosystem, and what percentage of global electronic production or semiconductor manufacturing could be impacted as a result?
Yeah. So, Parikshit, first of all, 40% of the global electronic equipments are manufactured in China today. But remember, this ban is not limited to, it's only limited to high performance computing equipments, which are mainly used for artificial intelligence type of application. If you look at semiconductors, 40% of the world semiconductor are manufactured by TSMC or overall by Taiwan as a country. So in that sense, this ban also, is affecting countries like Taiwan and Korea that are producing a lot of cutting edge semiconductor, but they are using equipments supplied by American fab equipment companies, and those names are also, in the public domain now. So it does have some bearing on these countries to export chips manufactured in Korea and Taiwan over to China. But in the same way, if you look at India, we are not today manufacturing semiconductor or exporting from here to any part of the world. So in that sense, it does not impact us for any exports or any manufacturing that India is doing today.
Right. We've run out of time, but Mr. Tyagi, thank you very much for joining us, giving us your sense of how these US export controls and semiconductor exports to China will impact India in the short term. Moving on from the chip sector to the 5G drive in India. Vivo, the third largest phone maker in India by market share, has announced a rollout of over-the-air updates by end of October or early November. Rakesh Tamrakar, Vivo's 5G standard expert, told Ashmit Kumar that prices of 5G devices will be more than 4G devices, in the beginning at least. However, with economics of scale, costs would start falling in the long term. Take a look.
Right now, all these smart